Hey everybody, Lee here, and welcome to the pull list for basically the first 3 weeks of May, specifically for May 20th, presented by Longbox Radio. I'm back, I got married, and I'm ready to talk about some friggin' comic books. So from DC, I'm not going to have everything I picked up over the course of the last 3 weeks, but there's quite a few, so we'll try to skip through them pretty quickly. First off, we have DC's big event going on right now, Convergence. I kind of came around on it. I'm still not a huge fan. I think Marvel's just blowing it out of the water. For two companies that are basically kind of doing the same thing right now as far as a universe kind of collapsing event. Marvel's just destroying DC as far as I'm considering in this case. But Convergence, I'm curious to see where they go from that. We're already at issue 7, so we'll see. So basically, Diamos comes out. He kind of emerges as the real villain of the story. Telos, of course, who was a pawn of Brainiac, was kind of pitting all these different universes together, people fighting for their cities to find what the final universe should be. When Diamos comes in and basically tells Telos that, hey, you're just a regular guy too, and you're kind of just a pawn in all this, he gets, kind of depressed and wanders off until Dick Grayson, of course, puts the fight back in him. But what happens then is Diamos is basically just like, hey, same deal, fight for your city. If you follow me, if you have faith in me, you're going to be all right. If you don't, you got to die. And there's literally a point in this book where I think for 2 issues, you have all these superheroes that are basically choosing a side. Like you have, heroes as big as like Shazam and stuff choosing to fight for Diamos. At a certain point, someone just drops the knowledge that, hey, by the way, he doesn't really care about you and he really just wants to kill all of us. At which point, like that, everybody who's on his side's like, oh crap, let's get him then, is the most unearned, like, babyface turn of a comic book I've ever seen, but I digress. So they take care of him, and what happens there is because he's absorbed the souls of time and space, or whatever the hell it was, once they defeat him, everything becomes a mess. All these crazy special effects are happening, and we're going to find out what happens in issue 8 as far as what the state of affairs is in the DC universe. So that's Convergence up to this point. Whatever. Convergence Swamp Thing. So this is really only one of the side books that I picked up, and I dug it. It's not really clear if this is like the Swamp Thing we know. It could be any Swamp Thing. We know for certain that the world they're inhabiting is not the Gotham we know of. Of course, they're under the dome that gets placed by Brainiac or Telos or whatever for a solid year. So the first issue is that Swamp Thing just trying to survive. At which point, eventually, a horde of vampires shows up, and it turns out he's in a vampire world where vampires are actually kind of outnumbering humans, like Underworld or something like that, I guess. And teams up with Vampire Batman here to take out as many vampires as possible before Batman actually kind of sacrifices himself to Swamp Thing so that his world can live, because Batman lives in a real shitty world filled with vampires. I guess it depends on your perspective, whether you like vampires or not. It's alright. I like the narrative in this. Kind of feels like really old school in it. It's just kind of a fun book. The fact that it's tying into Convergence is just kind of the backdrop for why Swamp Thing would be in a world full of vampires and there'd be a vampire Batman, but a good read all the same. And that's really the side book I picked up. So, if you read any other Convergence ones, like I know there's a couple Batman ones. I didn't even pick up the Supergirl one, and I like Supergirl. If any of those were great, let me know, because I'd be very curious to pick up something more like that. That was all right. Going over to Image Comic Books, we have Saggin number 28. I didn't think I could love this book anymore. I was wrong. So in 28 now, we have basically, 3 story threads going on at any given time with not the characters you'd imagine that would be teamed up, all kind of trying to find each other, accomplish their own goals. Fantastic, fantastic issue. The art and just the storytelling has become so much more endearing. There's so many awe moments in this that it just tugs at your heartstrings. Love Saga, pick it up. Holy crap, get on that. Walking Dead, number 141. So Negan's cage was left open last issue. He did not go on a killing spree, as I thought he might. He made it very clear when Rick came down to visit him that, hey, the door was unlocked and I could have left. But I didn't, so let's start working on some trust, at which point Rick would just shut him down. It's just like, no way in hell, I'm locking this cage back up, and if it was up to me, you'd be dead. But Rick makes it very clear in kind of a soliloquy he has that they don't want to go back to those old ways. The moment they do that, killing for survival and stuff like that, that's not what they want to do, which is juxtaposed against Maggie basically killing someone for mutiny over you know, where she's running things. So good stuff. Walking Dead's been really good the last couple issues. So I'm curious to see where it goes from there. Amazing Spider-Man, number 18. We have the conclusion of Ghost breaking into Parker Industries and really wreaking havoc. And as you can see, there's not much left of Parker Industries after he's done with it. Peter Parker is basically forced to start from the ground up. But that's okay, because of course with Secret Wars, who knows if any of this matters. Speaking of Secret Wars, I have Battleworld Ultimate End number 1. Now this comes from Bendis and Bagley, of course, which is our favorite Ultimate Spider-Man team. Excellent, excellent book. So basically, when we get to Secret Wars, I'll talk more about it. But as I was reading it, after what happens with the collision, and there is no more multiverse. There is a world of Manhattan where the Ultimate Universe and the 616 are crossed over, and all the heroes are hanging out. This is the book you want to pick up if you want to see what's happening there. Secret Wars, I'm not sure we'll cover it until much later. So check this out. There are some really subtle, excellent, cool things in this. Of course, the art by Bagley is fantastic, but little things like the speech bubbles that appear above characters' heads. If they're from the 616, they have their, the usual speech bubbles. If they're from the Ultimate Universe, and if you read Ultimate books, you know that one of the main things that you notice right off the bat is that all the speech bubbles and text and stuff is different. So you have scenes where characters from one universe are talking to another universe, and to make it very clear where they're from and their perspectives coming from, they have the ultimate speech bubbles above their head from the Ultimate Universe. It's like a little touch that I thought was actually super genius in this and really cool. So basically, they're blaming Tony Stark from the 616 for what happened. And if you've been reading the other books, of course, you know that's not entirely his fault, what's going on here. And they're basically trying to get together, trying to work together, figure out what can be done, who's behind this, and at the end of the issue, you see there's a clear and present threat, and that this book is going to be pulled into the Secret Wars story, as it were. Daredevil number 15.1 from Guggenheim and Wade. Basically, we have a book that takes place before the final issue of Daredevil, where Matt Murdock, Foggy, and holy crap, I forgot her name. Let's see, his current girlfriend are sitting down to write Matt Murdock's autobiography about his life as a vigilante and, of course, a lawyer, Matt Murdock. So he's telling some stories of his past, and I don't know a lot about how court and law works, but I think if you reveal that with metahuman powers that you can tell if someone's guilty or not, or you're the guy who is, knocking people out and bringing them in and then defending them. Whatever it is, there should be hundreds upon hundreds, and I think they did cover this at some point in Daredevil, of people that were convicted by Matt Murdock or had anything to do with Daredevil or Matt Murdock that should now just be free of prison because of the circumstances that are now happening in Daredevil with Matt Murdock embracing the fact that he's Daredevil and just basically walking around in a red suit all the time, just doing his Daredevil and lawyer stuff in one costume, which I hope he washes, because, Similar issue. Really, if you like Daredevil, it's got a really cool old school Daredevil story in here. Kind of open shut case. Just a nice little taste of Daredevil to carry us through to the end of Secret Wars and whatever happens to him at that point. Guardians of the Galaxy, another book that's basically just kind of wrapping up where the story threads were at in this book leading into Secret Wars. We had Peter Quill over on Spartax, where he's been elected president. He didn't want to be president or run for president, but apparently on that planet, that's what happens. So Kindun, I believe it is, who's just got a real hate on for Thanos and by extension Gamora, who can't get through his head that Gamora also has a pretty strong hate on for Thanos. Comes to Spartax, basically looking for her, and starts wreaking havoc. So Guardians of the Galaxy, of course, figure things out. That's no problem. But Gamora decides she's a real threat to them, while Thanos still lives, as he always has, and she kind of takes off. Of course, we know where Thanos is and what he's up to if you're doing Secret Wars stuff. The Marvel Universe is just banging on all cylinders right now. It's or firing, which is the actual expression. Absolutely amazing stuff. Just tying into everything else. So, Moon Knight. There was 2 issues I had to read, 14 and 15. Colin Bunn's on this book now, and he's got it. He's got the kind of what was tonally set up about this book that you can do really quick issues, like a really quick read, both of these issues, but you feel good afterwards. You feel like you read a good Moon Knight book, and that's all we can really ask. So Colin Bunn, you're killing it. Number 14, issue 14 was cool. Basically, you just had a story where a guy trained a bunch of dogs to attack the wealthy. Why not? And then on top of that, you had kind of like a boogeyman under the bed kind of thing, where Moon Knight's actually at odds with the Avatar and basically saying like, hey, you're not helping me out, so I don't need you anymore. And then there's kind of a cool cliffhanger at the end of this book. I don't know if Moon Knight's going to continue on just on its own, not having anything to do with Secret Wars. It's totally the book that can. It doesn't tie into the rest of the Marvel Universe, which I like about it. Keep going, Cullen Bunn. You're doing a good job. I liked it. Secret Wars, hell yeah! So, we had the 0 issue, which is the free comic book day issue. We had issue 1 and now issue 2. So as of the end of issue 1, of course, everything goes down. A few characters make it out. Of course, you have Reed Richards from the evil Reed Richards from the Ultimate Universe, who basically has gathered the Cabal with him, and they're off to do their own thing. Reed Richards from our 616 universe takes, unfortunately, not everybody he wanted from the good guys, but we don't know where they're at yet. We don't know where that group of characters ended up as this issue. What we do know is that Doom is now basically God, and he's created Battleworld, which is created of the fragments of the multiverse, and there's like a hierarchy and a bunch of barons that own land, and a weird law. There's a bunch of Thors running around with hammers that are basically like the enforcers. Doctor Strange is his sheriff. Hell yeah, everything about this is awesome. You started with a really grounded story that we've been building up to, Jonathan Hickman's been building up to. You finally have the conclusion of that, and now you have what comes next. DC screwed this up, in my opinion. They came out the gate with this weird stuff, and didn't really earn it. There was no build-up to it. I didn't know what was going on. In this, I'm just like, Doom has, basically, House of M created the world in his vision, and it sucks. It's a terrible place. It's called Battleworld, for crying out loud. So here we go, Secret Wars. So basically, the Foundation, which is, Valerie and them, still, we need to decide, just like Beast, I think with art, there needs to be some kind of standard for what Dragon looks like. Because Beast and Dragon have, depending on the artist, look completely different. Beast, especially, has gone from looking like a gorilla to being more cat-like or bear-like, to having like kind of a flat human face, to having like the snout and stuff like that. Dragon's the same case in this. I'll let him get away with it because it's kind of like an alternate universe thing going on, but usually he has that weird beak, and this one he's just got a human face with like a Dragon Ball Z Scouter. Whatever. Anyways, Secret Wars, super cool. At the end of this book, of course, they find an artifact that they date from before creation, which of course is hundreds of years. Time and space is all collapsed on itself. So, things like that are going to happen. And what's inside but the evil Reed Richards, as I like to call him, and the Cabal, who come out guns blazing, and things are going to go down. Holy crap, Secret Wars. Check it out. Amazing stuff. Also, the art, just fantastic, aside from Dragon, of course. The art's fantastic. The covers, especially. The first book, Secret Wars book, the kind of raised artwork with, like, the... fantastic stuff. Good stuff. Spider-Gwen and Spider-Man 2099, there's free digital codes, so look for those after the episode. But I didn't read either of these books. I'm going to get to them very shortly. It's the only thing I didn't read. And that's it. I read a bunch of other books, of course, leading up to it. I read some free comic book day stuff, which was fine. What else did I read? Of course, like the issues I missed before. This is all the Secret Wars and the Moon Knight and what have you. Good stuff. It's a good time to read comic books. I don't know if it's because I condensed everything into 3 weeks, so the good stuff kind of pops out. Where if you experienced it in real time, maybe that wouldn't be the case, but I'm really enjoying Secret Wars. I'm hoping Convergence can finish strong leading into the next books. Saga blew me away this past week. It's all good. So there's tons of free digital codes. I gave some of them away on Twitter already, but anything I didn't, I will throw up at the end of this episode. There's going to be a ton of them, so enjoy, please. That is it for the pull list this week. That's one of the longest pull lists in recent memory, but it was warranted. I'm back. We're going to be doing the pull list Wednesday night, Thursday at the absolute latest, because I am a busy man. As you can tell, wearing my t-shirt and Old Navy blazer. That's it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for bearing with me with my kind of weird posting schedule there. Happy reading. Enjoy those free digital codes, and we will see you next week.